Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or whatever time you're listening to us. Welcome to another episode of the Down in the Valley podcast. My name is Edson Ochoa, one of the co hosts of the show, and I'm glad to be back for another week of talking about our RGV FC Toros as they continue their quest for making it into the playoffs, even though it's every week it seems farther and farther away. But you look at the table, it's not really that far away. But performance wise, it has been a roller coaster of a ride this week. So everybody, just want to go ahead and say welcome back. And we got a lot to talk about today. Unfortunately, Jacob is working today, and but he will be back next week because we will be doing it on Wednesday this time, which is when he's usually available. So that was my fault, honestly. That we couldn't do it yesterday, but we are back today. We've got a lot to talk about. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the a little bit of a recap of the Phoenix versus Rio Grande Valley Toros game. We will be talking obviously about what today's press conference, what the coach mentioned, what some of the players mentioned, with of course your favorite segment, Kema no Kemaka, and of course we will be giving our predictions and looking ahead to the game against Hartford Athletic. But before we continue talking about everything Toros related, I just want to go ahead and invite you all to share this link with all of your friends. Be sure to participate as well in the chat. Got any questions, concerns, comments, any hot takes, be sure to put it in the chat. I will be able to read them, and we will be able to talk about it if we have an opportunity. You will also see the comments on the screen as well. So be sure to keep it friendly, guys. um, I don't want to get. I don't want to get. I don't want to get in anybody. I don't want to get mad at anybody, just like I did last week. But without further ado, we wanted to invite a good friend of the podcast, and of course, the person who had the opportunity to do color commentary at an official ESPN Plus broadcast for the Toros. He is from South Texas Border Sports, Ray Silva. Ray, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Edson. Thanks a lot for inviting me once again. I'm happy to be here and ready to talk some RGVFC action or lack thereof from last week and the arrival of one Alex Moniz.
Yeah, we will be talking about that later. I do want to get your opinions on what do you think he brings to the table. What do you think his role is going to be, and all of that. But we'll get to that in the meantime later on. We're talking about news and reactions from these games. But let's kind of take it back to last week. So last Wednesday, RGVFC hosts San Antonio, gets a 0-0 draw, and Wilmer Cabrera at the post game press conference said, if we're gonna have a shot at making it to the playoffs, our defense needs to play consistently well like they did today against San Antonio FC. And obviously, I felt, I was like, man, this team can be great defensively at times, but at many times they go from great to completely crapping the bed, at any given moment. Sometimes even from one game to the next. We saw that against Las Vegas as well. We've seen that against San Diego. You know, so I think Shadow had mentioned it before. It's like we don't know which version of RGV we're gonna get from week in and week out, and I'm not talking about roster. I'm talking about how are they going to perform. I mentioned it after the game. I know I'm kind of getting a little bit ahead of myself, but I feel like the way I phrased it kind of summarizes as the best. And that is that RGVFC has been consistently inconsistent this season in 2023.
Yeah, I mean, uh, the heckle and jideness of this team is like it's very perplexing. I mean, One day they look like $1 million, and next thing you know, I mean, it's a very irrecognizable team at times, and you know, I just wish there was some balance. I mean, but I just don't see it with this team right now. We, I mean, a lot of the mistakes that the only constant thing that I've seen from this team is that this team has constantly let in at least a goal per game,
Hmm.
and the results really show what kind of team this team can be. Now, this might be a little bit of a hot take, but during that run that the Toros had, when they were in that 6 game unbeaten streak, did you feel like that was the best RGV FC version you've seen to par, despite not having all of their veteran leaders?
That is a hot take. But I'm going to say, I think just within this season, yeah, I do think that that unbeaten streak, or where they were in that unbeaten streak, I felt that that could have been the best we had seen out of RGV, both offensively and defensively. Obviously, the bar was set low due to the beginning of the season, but at least they showed some consistency. From one game to the other. We talked about in the beginning of the season where it was moments where they got scored first, and it seemed like the team fell apart. And in that game, in those run of games, you saw where despite not being, or despite conceding a goal first, the Toros were able to kind of react and put themselves back into the game, right? The offense was generating, the defense was, denying. We saw that. I think one of the games that pop into my mind has got to be, that Oakland Roots game, where at the end, they held it down. Obviously, you got the Sacramento draw, and all of that, where it was consistent. But in the cases where, let's say, one of the blocks, whether it's the defensive or the offensive block, failed, your other block would kind of like pick up the pieces, or carry the team into a decent result. So, for example, in the game against San Diego at Torero Stadium, the defense had a lot of questionable decisions, especially with Eric Pimentel at the end. But the Toros were able to score 3 goals that put them in a favorable position to get the 3 points on the road. Same thing. Let's see what other game I think of. Obviously, you know,
Just
uh,
look at the El Paso game for
El Paso.
for
That's what I was
example.
gonna say.
The
Where
first 35 minutes was just utter chaos on both ends.
what's up,
From
Mike?
the soft PK to us reacting immediately, then giving up another goal, and then with getting it back, and at the end of the break, it's 2-2, and wow, I mean, we saw like probably like the most dysfunctional game over at HEB Park that it's ever witnessed.
Yeah, but unfortunately now, and it just seems like for RGV right now at this point, it's like the defense is kind of failing them at times, and then like in this game where it's like you have games where neither the defense helps, and the offense can't generate. you know so looking into this game against Phoenix Rising, we'll talk a little first about the roster, because I think this was something that I mentioned, and I kind of got heated in Costless and Shadows Twitter space after the game. um but let's talk about the starting 11, and I'll get to what I said. So the starting 11 for this game was Tyler Derrick on goal, Jonathan Ricketts, Ricky Reese, Gabriel Benitez, Eric Kinsner, and Frank Nodarse in a line of five, if I'm not mistaken. Right. And then you've had Christian Pinzon, Juan David Cabezas and Taylor Davila in the middle, and then Cristiano Francois and Juan Galindres as more of the, I guess you can say, the more of the strikers. If you look at the average position based on what the USL Championship website says for this particular game, it really seemed like a, you could say that it was kind of like a 5-2-3 kind of thing, where it was Francois in the wing, Christian Pinzon in the wing, Juan Galindez as the nine, with Ricky and Taylor Davila kind of being a little bit more central, and Juan David Cabezas playing that half, defensive midfielder, or maybe even at times kind of like a third center back, you know. But if you notice, Ray, there's a lot of players that repeated from those that played against San Antonio.
Yeah, I mean, look, that was a very, very costly gamble right there because you kind of figured you would have to put some fresh legs in there, not only because you're playing at some altitude in Arizona, but you kind of figure you want to change it up a little bit for an Arizona side that that has a different face, that has that has a different face when they're playing at home as
Mhm.
compared to what they do going on the road. I mean, one guy I definitely would have sat would have been Francois and would have just gone with the 5-4-1 and
Mhm.
have Galindres as the lone guy. And another guy who I probably would have sat was Reese as well. Now, who do you bring in that aspect? I mean, uh, Cole Frame would have been one of the guys that I would have brought in.
For Jonathan Ricketts.
Well, the guys that I would have sat were uh, was Reese and Francois.
Mhm.
Well, those were the two guys that I would have liked to have seen benched for that particular game, only because due to what the opponent does at home and the style that they play, it it merited the opportunity for Frame to get a another start on, on the road. Just for me, I mean, if you're looking everything from like okay, Francois has played a lot of minutes this year. Ruiz was coming back of a little bit of a layoff, and I figured give Frame that opportunity uh, to get more minutes in there and prove what you can do. And yes, it's kind of a bit of a hot take on my end because yes, you are playing for a playoff spot, but at the same token, I mean, you have to realize that hey, I mean, without risk, there is no reward.
Well, look, I think for me, and I said it in that Twitter chat or that Twitter space, I said, this is what we get for trying to do two things at a time when we know we're not capable of yet. What do I mean by that?
Hmm.
Okay, we need to look at the big picture, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The big picture is we need to make it to the playoffs. We need to make sure that the teams that we're fighting against in the playoffs don't get away from us. So, well, what do you do? What do you do? Well, we know that the bigger priority to fulfill that role is Phoenix. And I said it last week when it was the other side of the shoe, whereas we went to San Antonio and then we hosted Phoenix here. I said we need to prioritize Phoenix. I agree with the fact that Wilmer took a rotated squad to San Antonio to make sure that you're your starting players were fully fit, fully rested for the game against Phoenix. Why? Because if you win the 3 points against Phoenix, you not only get 3 points that get you closer to playoffs, but you also don't allow Phoenix, who is a direct rival in getting the playoff position, you don't allow it to get points and maybe get and then get away from you, right? At this point, I don't care if it's I do care if that it's a derby, right? As a fan, I want to beat San Antonio. And this is my fan side. I want to beat San Antonio. I always want to beat San Antonio. But for the sake of RGVFC and on my analytical side, to me, it's better to try and get and lose the amount of the distance, reduce the distance between you and your playoff ticket, competitors. What happens here? They start talking about, Copa Tejas. You've got the pressure from some fans that, we need to win Copa Tejas and Copa Tejas this and Copa Tejas that, and all of that. So Wilmer, okay, we'll put in our starters against San Antonio. Okay, you got a 0-0 draw. Awesome. That's 1 point. Okay? But now, 3 days later, you're going against Phoenix. You make those players travel to a completely different environment. And it's like they played, a lot against San Antonio. It was a really hard fought battle. So you're playing with your team at what? Just to put a number, 70%?
Yeah.
Or something like that. They're not at 100% rested. They've got fatigue from the game against San Antonio, right? So now you end up losing 2-0. And what's your net win? -2. Why? Yes, you got 1 point, but at that same time, Phoenix before RGV didn't play, if I'm not mistaken, correct? Like they didn't play midweek, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, in reality, the way this was, as far as roster is concerned, we lost 2 points. Phoenix Rising got away from us with 2 more points before the San Antonio game. Whereas, if let's say we lose against San Antonio, we put in second stringers again against San Antonio, but we play with our fully fit 100%, starting 11. We have a higher probability of, let's say, if we win, we don't allow Phoenix to gain points, and we get 3 points. So that's a +3 right there.
Yeah.
If we draw against Phoenix, there's pretty much a net 0, loss.
Mm-hmm.
Because you both get a point. And in this case, they go, Phoenix beat you. So now they're even more ahead of you. You guys understand what I'm saying? I mean,
and not only that, but let's take a look at the head-to-head record between Phoenix and RGV now. It's a series split, yes, but now it becomes a little bit more of a what do you kind of do now from that aspect?
that is a good question, honestly. What do we do?
I mean, now it stands at a -1 because okay, you say we lose we lose -2 points. We're at -2, but now If it were to come to the head-to-head, Phoenix comes out winning 2-1 in both this season's matches,
Wasn't it 1-0 here at HA Park?
and it
And
was
then,
two
oh yeah, you're
zero
right,
over there.
correct. And 2-0 over there. So yeah. Yeah, not only do we 'cause we talked about head to heads, Ray, if you recall correctly,
Yep,
if not last week, the week before,
yep,
the importance of head to head. In the case of a tie in the standings.
yep.
So we so we lost three
Well, there
points
goes that
against.
tiebreaker.
Yeah, so there's the tiebreaker again. So if you look at it from that perspective, we lost a lot more than we won.
Yeah.
Yeah, we held San Antonio to a 0-0 draw. But at the end of it, what good? What good did it do? What good did it do? I mean, I said it last week and I'll say it again. Copa Texas is irrelevant to what RGV needs. Winning Copa Texas was not gonna save the season. If we don't make playoffs, winning Copa Texas is not gonna save the season. I don't care what other people say. Es una copita irrelevante. Perdónenme. Forgive me. Pero Copa Texas es una copita irrelevante. It does us no good at this point. What does us good? Beat the rivals that are close to us fighting for that playoff spot. That's what we needed to focus. If we're in a situation where we have to dosificar, like we say in Spanish,
Dosify.
to dose, if we're in a situation where we have to dosify our roster, what do we have to give more priority to? We have to give priority to the team that is most direct, competing for that playoff spot. In this case, Phoenix Rising. And we didn't do that this week. Wilmer Cabrera decided, okay, we're gonna fight for Copa Texas. I don't know if it was what he wanted or if there was some sort of pressure within the club, because I know the club tried their best to kind of promote Copa Texas, the days leading up. And I'm sure it wasn't going to look good if Wilmer Cabrera decided to go with an alternative roster against San Antonio in the final game of Copa Texas. We don't know that. But because of that, we suffered more. We lost, ended up losing more than what we gained. So I really don't agree with the fact that we played our starters for 2 straight games within the same week, and it really, 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 really affected us. What's up, Costless? Oh, Abraham Costless, I want to get your thoughts, on the fact that RGV played with their starter or most of their starters for 2 games in a row within the same week. I'm pretty sure you probably missed a little bit of my rant right now, but let's take a look at the chat. So Mike says, I did like the front line, still don't like Ricky as left back.
Sorry, Mike. I'm dealing with not necessarily a brand new computer, but this is like my very first laptop that I have for
I raised your volume
editing
on my end,
purposes.
so don't worry about that, and it sounds good now.
Oh, okay.
So Costless and Abraham says, hey guys. Costless then says, Alex Moniz will save our season. Hold on there, Jethro. Hold on there. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Costless, he's playing left back. You know that, right?
Oh,
Right.
oh no.
I'm just trying to mess with the psyche just for the sake of it.
At this point, we're probably going to play him as keeper. No, I'm just kidding, guys. Okay, so anyway, so we were talking right now, for those that are coming into the stream and probably missed it, we're talking about the fact that RGV Wilmer Cabrera decided to use the starters for both the game against San Antonio and the game
And it's
against
proper.
Phoenix
He got
Rising.
burned. And the title's proper. We did get burned.
Yeah. So Harry says, No Copa Texas and no wins in Phoenix. Rough week for RGV. But hey, there is a new addition to RGV.
Here comes closet fan number one. There he goes.
But I'm pretty sure, Harry. I don't know if you heard me a couple of minutes ago. I don't know if you agree or disagree with me. I'm pretty sure we're going into Kema no Kema a little bit early. But honestly, like for me, it's I know hindsight is 2020, but you look at what he did, and it's like, man, I really would have preferred an alternative lineup against San Antonio and have our starters rested and fully loaded for the game against Phoenix Rising. I feel like maybe we could have had a better opportunity against Phoenix right there, right? So let's talk about the actual game now, Harry, and or actually Ray. I'm sorry. I don't know why I was thinking Harry, but anyway. So
They
obviously
could just,
RG.
the production crew who did this highlight package could have just rolled the first 3 minutes of this, and that's already half your video.
So okay, so you mentioned early in the game, RGVSC, people were probably barely buying their beer, their popcorn, their hot dogs, I don't know, whatever. And Phoenix is already on the board with this authentic golazo by
Banger.
yeah, a huge banger by Daniel Trejo. Ray, come on, tell me what.
Wow. That's no Darce right there. That's no Darce to move up and make Danny either go left or right.
Okay, so you agree with me, Ray, then that the defense could have done a whole lot more in this game to deny Trejo. So here's the thing, Ray.
Okay, so go back at least 5 seconds of that. Okay, watch Darce. He's, there's a Phoenix player right in the center.
Mm-hmm. Right
He
here.
took the bait. He took the bait big time because there was another Toro defender right behind him. So what can Odarsa do? Creep up, tack, and then you also have the right back as well. I mean, creep up a little, sacrifice yourself towards the back end guy. Something like I don't know. I mean,
This is where I
he was
disagree with you, Ray. This is where I disagree with you.
that's fine.
In this play, I don't think this should be pinned on Nodarse. And this is why I say this. How many times in the last couple of weeks did we talk about the disorganization in the defense, specifically against San Diego, where the center back was overzealous in trying to pressure higher up the field, which left space for right in between the line that the opposing team was able to capitalize and score. I feel had Nodarse had done what you did, or what you're saying, that would have left a wide open space for I want to say it was Arteaga to run in, probably got received a through ball or something, and been one on one against Tyler Derrick. Now, for me, the problem is not the defensive line or Nodar, specifically Nodarse in this play. To me, this was all on the midfield. Look at this.
Okay, yeah, I see
Look at
two.
Cabezas. Look where Cabezas is. He's got a
And then
player.
look at Davila.
What is Davila doing next to Cabezas? Davila should be the player that should be here, closer to Trejo, to make sure that he doesn't receive comfortably, and if he does receive, make sure he doesn't have the space to dribble, lift up the head, look where Tyler Derrick is, where the goal is, decide on what shot to do or decide to pass or anything like that, and then execute. That was the biggest issue for me, and this is where I highly disagreed. And we'll talk about this quote from Wilmer Cabrera in Quema no Quemaca. But this is where I wholeheartedly disagree with Wilmer today when he said there really is nothing to complain about in the first goal. Yes, there is. Midfield, right here, Taylor Davila. You are not in your position, left space wide open for Trejo to receive. Think about what he was supposed to do. Take the shot. Now, the shot itself, Beautiful shot. I don't think there's anything Tyler Derrick could have done. I feel like had Tyler Derrick thrown himself, it was just gonna make the goal even more beautiful. Like it was just gonna be throwing himself for the picture. That's pretty much it, at least in my eyes. But the play itself with this, the midfield really needs to have done better.
Yeah, I mean, credit to Phoenix for taking advantage of that space. I mean, as professionals, you have to kind of be like focused from the very first minute. And when we get to Kema or no Kema Cud, this is where we might have to put on our fake boxing gloves and go at it here.
I'm really looking forward to that. So that was in the second minute, and it really seemed like Phoenix was in control for the most part of this match in the first half. RGV did have a couple of opportunities that they tried to shoot, but the problem was most of the shots weren't going into the back of the net, or at least on frame. So I have right here, Ray, real quick, the chalkboard from the USL Championship website, and I want to look at specifically at the first half for RGVFC.
Share the
And
screen, baby.
all right, we'll do. I shall stop the screen sharing for a little bit, and now I will show the USL Championship website right here. Let me see if I can actually
Yes, you can
make
zoom
this a
in.
little bit
You
bigger.
can actually zoom in using your browser. Come on, big boy.
Okay, so I
Now,
want to focus
now
only on
hold on.
RGV.
Before you continue,
Mhm.
I want you to bevel that. I'm just messing with you. You don't need to bevel anything.
Okay,
It's a Sickles committee move on my end.
you'll have to teach me everything about Sicko's move
Well, I'm just kidding.
right after this. But anyway, okay. So this is RGV's shots in the first half only. 6 total shots, 1 blocked, 4 off target, only 1 on target. And that on target shot was almost at the very end of the first half in the 43rd minute. On the other hand, if we look at Phoenix, yeah, most of their shots were blocked, which I do think that shows a little bit better improvement, I guess, on the defense. But you're talking that in 45 minutes, Phoenix had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 shots. 11 shots attempted in the first half, which means that Phoenix Rising had more of the possession, had more of the opportunities, put more pressure on RGVFC's defense. And obviously, out of those 11 shots, 2 of them went into the back of the net.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they say in Spanish, te apedraron el rancho.
Yeah, they definitely, honestly, I think that's
They,
one. That
they,
is one way to put it.
they peppered RGV till who knows when. Now we jump forward to the 28th minute.
Who was that? That
They,
was Arteaga, right? Why didn't
yep,
he pass it to? Why didn't he pass it to freaking Trejo?
that was Darnell King on the run there.
Good run by Darnell, honestly. So look, Arteaga could have easily passed it to Trejo right there. But I guess he kind of like sent from
The traffic, just the traffic that got around him, made it made it that much more difficult. And Monjoma was probably on a off site.
offside. No, but
Oh
I was
wait,
talking
no,
more. I was talking more over here. Look, right here, where he has to come back to get that ball after the first rebound by Darnell
Oh
King.
yeah, like a
Could
slight
have easily,
layoff.
yeah, just pass it over to Trejo, and Trejo would have probably finished it. The only player in the box was a defender, you know, and the way I see it, if I'm not mistaken, Ray, and this correct me if I'm wrong, I do think that Manjoma would not have been offsides, even if he did pass. They pass it over to Manjoma.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So I think, like we say in Spanish, pecó de goloso, Arteaga, which is a lot of times is, for a striker that, a lot of times we ask, to the attackers to, they have an opportunity, take the shot themselves. But I feel like at this time, it really looked, because he was looking down at the ball to try to take control of it. He never saw uh, Trejo by himself in the in the box. Uh, that maybe that could have been a 2-0 in favor in the 28th minute. You know,
Yeah, there goes King. The 1v1 shot, the
look
rebound.
at his head. Look at his head. All the time he's looking down at the ball, so he really didn't see Trejo. But
Mm,
had he seen Trejo, man, that was a golden opportunity for Phoenix Rising. And
absolutely.
he knows it. He knows it right there.
Yes.
So this is the 33rd minute, right? RGV with
Five
the ball.
5 minutes later.
Cristiano Francois with the ball, going up against
Oh
two,
no.
gets past them,
F in the chat.
gets in the cross,
Skies it.
and wow, who skied it? Who was that? Oh,
I don't
Jono.
know.
Oh, that was Jono. Well,
Oh,
I mean, he's a defender, so I can't expect him to be clinical with a header.
well, I mean, I'll give John a break on that.
Yes, I always want to give Jono a break, because I think he's been good consistently.
Of the
He's
returners, yes. Of the
Yes.
returners,
So
he
okay, so this is the second goal. Okay, this is the play of the second goal. This is the 39th minute. Okay, guys, if you're in the chat, you guys are welcome to participate in giving your thoughts as well. We will
okay.
read them
What
on screen.
one quality observation I want us right there where you're at on that frame.
Okay,
How many blue jerseys you see up front?
we've got up on top is just Galindres. And then you've got Cristiano Francois, Taylor Davila, and Christian Pinzon. Then behind them, Juan David Cabezas.
Arráncate mi yayo.
Okay. So a through ball over
Okay,
to,
hold it right there.
okay,
Let's go frame by frame now.
Traore. Okay.
Okay, so now you got Traore, and
Yes.
now let's count the blue jerseys. Now you got,
One, two, three,
I see
four, five,
six,
six. Mm-hmm.
and a seventh coming in at the bottom of the frame right there. Right
Pinzon.
there. Yeah.
Yes.
Now go forward. Go.
Okay. Before I go forward, look at all this space. Look at all this space between Ricketts and Nodarse.
Okay, now let's take a look at the markings. So
Okay.
you assume that,
Benitez has Arteaga.
or
Right.
the other guy that's right next to him, which
Ricketts has, I want to say that is Torres,
okay,
number 16. Right. But
and nobody
nobody's
has the ball guy. Nobody has
correct.
the ball guy.
Correct. That's where Christian Pinzon should come in. How
I
many
don't think
times have how many times have we said, or maybe you guys probably noticed when we go through the replays, how many times have we seen when Christian Pinzon plays, you see these plays where the other team has the ball and Christian Pinzon doesn't come in and help defensively. And I know if I recall correctly, Ray, correct me if I'm wrong, he talked about that. He himself talked about that the specific thing the last time he was in a press conference.
yes, correct.
Okay. Now, let's
Let her
continue the
rip.
play. So
Okay,
that
hold it right there once again.
Mm-hmm.
So now you see Jono running away from his guy.
Correct.
Now you see Nodarse wanting to clamp down.
When there's still a huge space in between, there is a
No.
clear passing
Okay.
angle.
Okay. Passing angle, great. But you also have an opposite angle opening up on Jono's backside.
Correct. So you got a passing angle right here, which is going to be easy for Triori, easier than what he actually did. And the reason I say it will be easier is because if you pass the ball behind Jonathan Ricketts, there's going to be no way he was going to react to that.
Yeah.
And you put Ricketts in an awkward situation, whereas Torres was going to have the full momentum of where the direction the ball was heading, and of course the running speed of trying to get that through ball. But Traore doesn't go with that.
Now
Traore
look at
goes with a through ball that goes past Nodarse, past
and
the other two defenders, and into Arteaga. Yes, Ray.
mm, just that defensive lapse when the through ball goes through. Now, see the build up one more time.
Mm-hmm.
Now stop right there. Stop right there.
Okay.
First guy that had a chance to do anything with the ball, whether it be slide to deflect for a corner kick
Mm-hmm.
or
Kinsner.
anything, is Kisner.
Mm-hmm.
He slowed up his run significantly at the time that he saw Nodarse and Ricketts wanting to throw away that
Okay, let's slow it
once
down.
the ball is released. Watch.
Ball is released right there.
Okay?
Right. Slow it a little bit more. So
Right there.
Nodarse tries to go for the ball.
Okay, and then you see Ricketts take that
Or
big
Kinsner.
stutter. Kinsner take that big stutter step. You see? And then small stutter step. And then whoop the ball goes through, and there goes the ever so famous Dos Acero.
Now, obviously, what we're saying here, we're not trying to take away anything from Traore's pass. I think that was, like I said, this was just beautiful talent to put that ball with just enough curve to put it past the Toros defenders and straight towards the feet of Arteaga in a position where it was going to be favorable for Arteaga to put it into the back of the net. But honestly, there was a lot of work defensively that needs to be done. Too many mistakes. I don't know if we think that it should be it's partially because of a the fact that they are coming in tired, or what if that would prove to be a factor. But the defense needs to be more consistent. Now in the second half, you know, Phoenix had 0 shots on goal. So Phoenix was very well contained in the second half. RGV FC continued to have some opportunities in the second half. They had in total, if I'm not mistaken, if we look at the chalkboard in the second half, the Toros had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 shots. 8 shots with 5 on target, right? 2 shots from Galindres that went way wide, you know. But the fact of the matter is, they didn't go into the back of the net.
Yeah.
They didn't take advantage of those opportunities, and now they come back to the Rio Grande Valley with a 2-0 with a 2-0 loss, and with Phoenix Rising, being even more ahead in the standings that they were a week before.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's kind of like the frustrating thing about this is that this team,
Okay,
like,
let's take a look at this real quick.
okay,
Let's take a look at this play. How can you miss this that bad?
hmm, wow, wolf, I don't know. I mean, yikes.
Like, I don't know what he was trying to do. Was he trying to trap the ball and then shoot it with his right, or was he trying to deflect it, but it ended, into the goal? But it was just terrible, technique. That was Galindres. That was Juan Galindres.
Man, it's kind of, oh wow. I mean, I was just surprised that that opportunity right there was just there for the taking. That was Galindres, Moreno. That was
Yes.
Galindres.
Yeah, that was Galindres. But you know where I'm going with this, right? Right,
Yes,
Ray?
yes.
And I mentioned it before. I mean, Galindres, I appreciate you. You're a pretty chill guy and all of that. But you have to understand that while you were out, when you were having these visa issues, you were talking a lot about the goals are in Colombia, that the goal scorer saying that, pretty much insinuating that you were the hope for the offense. You know how we talked about in previous episodes where he needed to back that up with these kind of misses. That doesn't look good. And I'm not flaming the guy. I mean, we know that he has potential. He was the leading goal scorer in USL League One, so we know he has potential to score goals. The problem is, and you've heard the famous quote, Ray: "Speak softly and carry a big stick," or the opposite: "Perro que ladra no muerde" in Spanish.
Yeah.
You know, so these are the opportunities. These are the times where he needs to prove that he's the goal scorer. That he was brought in for a reason, and then, if he's saying that, oh, I'm the goal, I'm going to be the the savior of RGV or something like that on Twitter. These are the times he needs to prove it, and unfortunately, he hasn't been consistent in proving it. While he does score some good goals, all of a sudden he has these mistakes like this. You know, so let this be a lesson to all of us, including myself. Don't talk too much. Don't over promise and under deliver. I think it's the best. I think that's the best way to prove it. Now he is young. There's still a lot of season for him to bounce back. I have faith that Galindres is a good prospect as a striker. I guess maybe he needs a little bit more. I guess I don't know. Maybe he needs more time to get used to the system, right? But when you promise a lot and you don't score these opportunities, it doesn't look good on you, right? So, but yeah, but that was Phoenix Rising against RGV FC in a nutshell. Pretty much a game where defensive mistakes, while it wasn't that they were terrible all game defensively, the few times that they make mistakes, unfortunately, the other team has the accuracy to make us pay. And in this game, our offense was unable to take advantage of the opportunities that Phoenix Rising defense was allowing us. And that has been the difference. That was the difference. If you Jurison Echeverry once said it a couple years ago, without goals, there's no glory. Yes, you can have possession. Yes, you can have, all these shots on target, all these shots. But if they don't go into the back of the net and the other team doesn't you no good. That being said, I think this is the quickest we've ever gone through a recap in all of down in the valley this season. But I want to get real quick, and I want to talk about obviously going into Kema no Kema Ka. So for those of you that are new to the podcast that have not watched this before, Kema no Kema Ka is our version of door bumper clears, spot on, spot off. Basically, what this means in our version, Kema means you agree with the statement, with a bit of news or anything like that. No Kema means you don't agree, you disagree completely, and and obviously, whatever we say, we're going to be giving our reasons. As always, you guys in the chat can participate. Abraham, it's not that I'm serving humble pie. I really don't. You know, you see me saying this, but I really don't feel comfortable talking about it because who am I to tell somebody like, oh, you talk too much or anything like that? But I feel like it's something that that needs to be mentioned that these opportunities that we couldn't put in the back of the net are costing us, you know? So, I mean, I'm not going to tell a player what they can or cannot tweet or anything like that. They have to be humble, or there can be, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, version USL Championship for all I care. And I don't control their Twitter, but I do have to let them know that all actions have consequences. And unfortunately for Galindres, I think maybe it's this thing where overpromise and he's under delivering for now. But I have full confidence that he's going to revert. But anyway, so here's the first thing about No Quema or No Quema Ka, Ray. And this was Wilmer Cabrera's analysis on the game against Phoenix and the lack of defensive consistency. And this was from today's from today's press conference, Ray. So this is going to be fresh in your mind. So, what did Wilmer Cabrera say about the game? He said, I cannot talk about the first goal because it was not like we allowed him to. And then he phrases, he got a shot from outside the box and put it in the upper 90. Like I said, I disagree with that. But anyway, he continues on. He said, our problem was in the second goal. We were too open in the middle, and that allowed that pass through, and we didn't clear the ball. We didn't defend, and we allowed him to finish. But after that, I cannot say that they had more opportunities. We took control, took over, and we defended, and it was good. No more threats. But that's the problem. 1-2 attacks, and they score. We attack, we control the game, we create options, and we don't punish. I cannot be saying the same things every time that we need to be better defensively. At this point, what we need is to be more focused in what we do well. We are good in defense, but we have to be good in the complete game. Right now, our mindset is being positive. Let's make sure that we believe more in ourselves and we believe that we can perform in a complete way, in a better way. Quema or no quema ka?
No Gemma, because you dropped the word complete twice in that little rant. And that starts from the opening second. Okay? These are professionals, mind you, Edson. That first goal, you should have been fully concentrated, understanding your assignments, your passing lanes, everything, and it's like, voila. They credit to Phoenix. They took the opportunity. They saw the advantage, and it's like a completely different team from what we saw the first time we played them compared to this time around. This time around, we didn't have a man short to defend the entire second half. It was your plain Jane style 11v11.
Mm-hmm.
That's why cannot agree. I cannot agree because you got to go out there fully focused from the first second the kickoff starts the game, and
Which is, yeah, go ahead.
which that first goal. I mean, credit to Phoenix. I mean, they saw the opening, they took it, and I think that's just the lack of of what you just mentioned. Concentration.
And I think that's what he said at the very end. Well, not at the very end, but close to the end. He said the same thing, that we have to be good in the complete game.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
complete. Incomplete is from the very beginning.
so there's a lot of different parts to this particular quote. I already talked about the first part. No que maca about the first goal. Yeah, there are some things that should have been done by the defense to avoid that goal. Obviously, the description of what he said, what we saw in the second goal, I completely agree with that. Okay, I do agree that they have to be better in the complete game, which you just mentioned right now. Now, I want to focus on that last part, Ray, because I don't think you mentioned this. He says, right now, our mindset is being positive. Let's make sure that we believe more in ourselves and we believe that we can perform in a complete way, in a better way. Do you feel like that is the mindset that they should have, or they really should be focusing on all these mistakes?
Hmm. I think they should be really focused on everything in general. I mean, for me, you view this team, you see flashes in the pan, but obviously flashes in the pan don't get you through an entire season. And, and sadly, because I kind of feel like this season's USL Championship season is a little bit more forgiving. That's where I kind of felt like if the league had decided to go the first six teams to make the playoffs, this team would have already been near mathematically done. But the league allows room for error, you know. And this isn't the first time that they go into it like this, where they're down to like their final percentage opportunities to gain a playoff spot. And right now, I mean, be thankful that the league is lenient in that department. Otherwise, we'd be 9, 10, 11, 12 points out, staring at the brink of elimination. And
Hmm.
thank God for El Paso, Texas, too.
Yeah, that is very true. I agree. I mean, this isn't. That's for me. That's a no quema. I mean, as much as I guess you want to say like, oh, we need to be positive about the situation. I mean,
Yeah, this is the part of the year where you're gonna have to learn how to bite a knife carefully without cutting yourself.
and not only that. I mean, it's like, at what point does conforming ourselves that we're doing 85, let's say 85% of the job right, or 85% of the game you're doing the job right, but
Mhm.
in 15% you make mistakes, or you lose your concentration and you get scored on and you end up, how many times has that happened this season? And look
A
where
lot.
we're at right now.
You can
Yes, we're
you can
obviously
count
going
at
to
least
say,
10 games. You can
and I
count
mean,
at least
yes,
10 games where it's at least happened.
yeah,
And how many of
and
those have we reverted a result upon?
exactly, Abraham. He said, yeah, but it's the 15% that matters. Exactly.
Harry, wrong sport, buddy. Wrong sport.
He's trying to distract us from the matter at hand. I mean, I
I
want to
mean,
get y'all's
well,
thoughts. I know Abraham just mentioned right now, about
hold on.
what
Let,
he
let,
thinks.
let me address Harry here. Broncos are not winning it, okay? Okay. Peyton Manning's not walking through that door, or neither is John Elway. Okay, so
Ouch.
so and neither is Ed McCaffrey or Terrell Davis.
Ouch. You really went for the jugular there.
Well,
Um,
the saying goes, when you're attacked by a mob of clowns, You always go for the jugular first.
Well then. So anyway, like I mentioned, I mean, the thing about the matter is we need to fix that 15%. And if it means, us, always harping about the mistakes, I mean, if we would see some sort of improvement or some consistency that these mistakes are minimizing, okay, well, let's be positive. But we've got a game where you're playing at 100%, and then you got a game where you're making some dumb mistakes that you end up losing against a key opponent to that playoff spot. Of course, questions are going to be asked. We can't just let's brush them off underneath the rug, and everything's fine and dandy here and anything like that. Maybe I'm misinterpreting Wilmer Cabrera's words, but for me, taking it at face value, what it says right here, I don't agree with it. We can't just be like, oh, like everything is going well. We really need to harp on minimizing these mistakes, and not just one game and then going back to the same old toros the next game or the next two games. It's minimizing those mistakes and making sure that performance stays consistent from here until the end of the season. Harry wants to know what your team is. He says, we know it's not the Jets or the Pats.
It's the same conference, buddy. You're just gonna have to search of some part south.
Interesting. And he also says, I say it's 10% that costs you the game. Which makes it even more like, scratch my head even more, where it's like, okay, it's minor details, but why is it that those minor details have not been fixed?
And those minor details keep recurring too.
Exactly. That's the thing. But anyway, continuing on. So, bit of news that came in during the week, and that was that RGV FC signs forward Alex Moniz to the roster on a loan for the rest of the 2023 season. Moniz played with Chicago Fire FC2 during the 2022 and 2023 seasons. As a striker, he scored 11 total goals in 2 seasons, adding on 2 assists, logging 40 total appearances and 2,290s of competition in the second tier MLS League. Did also make his debut with the first team. I believe he also scored a goal with the first team as well in his debut. So Ray, quema or no quema acá?
The last few weeks, I've always been saying what's been the team's Achilles heels,
The defense.
and yet the team goes out and brings a forward, which is why I kind of asked the question that I did today. You look at it, sometimes,
Which is on the script. We'll get to that.
and when I first saw this, I'm like, okay, like, is this guy gonna sacrifice himself and really put in the effort to really play a left wing back, which is Costless's favorite position on the field? Uh, I don't know if our forward line has all of a sudden just broken down after 3 games. I mean, scoreless draw to San Antonio, 2-0 loss to Phoenix, and let me grab the other last result for the Toros, and a 1-0 win, a 3-2 loss, 2-3 loss to San Diego and San Antonio. Yeah, I mean, I'm scratching my head still over this signing. I mean, it's not that I'm above the clouds that we brought in another forward. I mean, had we brought in a true center back, because we lost Ackway, we didn't have Puma, and Frank Noldas is playing lost out there at times.
Mm-hmm.
And Jono's not a center back by trade either.
Correct.
which is I kind of figured you'd bring in a true
And
blue center
Kinsner's
back.
still young.
And Benitez has a hard time adapting to the center back position stateside, which is why I kind of prefer him as the right back.
Hmm.
So I'm just like, no, I'm not sold on this. No, I'm selling. Spot off. Now, I will counter myself with this. Yes, there is frustration from the offensive front that they haven't been able to generate. I mean, I know Cristiano Francois has had the most biggest chances missed, and that says
And
7, 8 goals right there,
we lost Wilmer Jr. as well.
and you lost 7 goals up front as well. So I'm kind of really still confused. I mean, there's all sorts of data analytics that can make you feel both directions.
This is the problem that I have with it,
Okay,
with this, and this is my confusion. Clearly, at face value, Moniz is not a. How can I say this? No es una bomba. This is not going to be a signing that is going to be the savior of RGV FC.
nope,
This is a signing just to bolster up the defense, the offensive depth for this team. Now that you lost Wilmer Jr., talked about last week, we need to have a replacement for Wilmer Jr. Okay, maybe he's not at the level of Wilmer Jr., but at least roster wise, well, if Ian Cerro isn't cutting it, well, or Christian Pinzon isn't cutting it, or even Cristiano Francois, well, you put in Alex Moniz, and we'll see what he brings you. But he is not, and I want to reiterate this, guys. Moniz, in my eyes, he is not going to be a signing that we need to be excited about, that this is, oh, he's going to be the savior of this team or anything like that. No, this is more of a, this is just
insurance depth.
bolstering.
Yeah, I
Correct.
call this insurance depth. I mean, just like the team lost Julio Herrera to the University of Michigan, his, his signing was a cold frame,
Mhm.
but now,
Okay, now I give you this from Harry. He says he will start. You don't bring in MLS loans and have them sit on the bench, at least at the start.
we're not talking about benching the kid who just arrived. I mean, maybe Wilmer and Jerson see some things from his game that probably the team needs. And I just
And
mentioned 8 big chances missed by Francois.
And I think this is where maybe I need to rephrase my statement. I don't think that this is what I was trying to convey. I think it's more, this is not going to be a signing that is a bomba. That I had right. That it's not going to shake the USL Championship.
No,
But it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, if he doesn't pan out, I mean, it was just on a loan, right? But if he does pan
yeah,
out, like let's say Jonas Fielberg, like he did back in 2021 and 2022, you gain a lot from it. So it's not going to shake up the USL Championship, but there is a lot of upside if he does perform well. I mean, he did perform well at the MLS Next Pro level as well. So I'm not sure, Ray. I think you could be a better judge of that, of how close or how far apart MLS Next Pro is from the USL Championship level.
well, next pro, I mean, you're only allowed to have X amount of veterans per team, whereas you're basically playing with a lot of U23s plus 2 or 3 veterans per roster, which
Hmm.
I kind of like because it gives you a true sense of the word develop, especially if there are U23s, and then you have X amount of veterans that can help you out in that sense. So um, I would probably say, like, if you would like to rate in what order these leagues should be in, I would say that League One and MLS Next Pro go hand in hand,
Okay.
only because there's like younger talent in League One, even though they that league has its fair share of veterans who I think, and this is just my personal opinion, who I think have no business playing in League One. And I'll drop
Mhm.
a few names from League One that should be playing in the championship.
Okay.
Arthur Rogers from Northern Colorado Hellstorm.
Write these down, Wilmer.
He won't. Um, Irvin Para, who was last recent, like before joining Northern Colorado Hellstorm, he was a striker for St. Louis FC. F in the chat.
F
That
in the
guy,
chat.
that guy was a pretty good little striker.
Yeah, Irvin Parra sounds very familiar, honestly.
Yeah, he was. He was a. He's from Central America. He was a.
And let's be honest, these are the perfect signings from what the tendencies have been for RGV. These are the perfect signings. Players that either have a lot of potential in the lower leagues that could make it into the USL
No, and, and,
Championship.
and here's the thing with Arthur Rogers. He spent his first professional season with Hartford Athletic before moving down to League One. So I think for him, some championship team has to take the risk.
Hmm.
Another guy who's been doing significantly well in I'm gonna have to duck after I say his name, Isidro Martinez.
Cello.
Chalelo de Oro. Yes, that guy.
Hmm. He's killing it with Ford Madison.
Yeah, he picked up a knock. He should be back in the next few weeks.
Hmm.
But that's that's neither here or there. But that's just another player who has excelled when placed in the proper area.
So there is a possibility that he can pan out. I mean, we didn't think much. Jacob and I didn't think much about Jonathan Ricketts. We didn't think much about Ricky Reese. Who else am I thinking of? Cole Frame, Ian Cerro. While they haven't been getting a lot of minutes, but at least we saw potential out of them that they could battle for a starting spot in the first team.
Yeah,
So maybe Alex Moniz is going to be the same thing. But
yeah.
I think I need to kind of point it out that this is not a signing to that this he's going to be the savior.
No,
Like he's not going to be he's not going to be a guarding proportions. He's not going to be a Lionel Messi at Inter Miami kind of savior.
no, dear God, no.
So, but I mean, any kind of help is appreciated. Honestly, you
Yeah,
bring in Moniz if it helps you with numbers, maybe helps maintain competition in that forward spot. Uh, I think all of that is welcome.
yeah,
But to be honest, and this is going to be a segue into our last Kemano Kemaka, on with the situation that Toros are at right now, I think fans are expecting more of a punch from Wilmer and the Toros before the transfer market closes, which leads us to the last quote for Kemano Kemaka.
Oh
And
boy.
this is a question that Ray asked him today. And you literally
Oh,
said, Lil Wilmer, put your sporting director cap on.
oh cabrón.
You asked him,
Yeah.
is the team looking to add more players to the squad before the roster freeze, or is Alex Moniz the last one? And Wilmer
I,
said,
you know, pause there for a second
yeah,
before you go on with the quote. I always ask that, and the glare that I'm gonna get at the next home game is gonna be like one of those glares that my father would give me when questioning a higher up. De mí te acuerdas. But go on.
I mean, it's normal. I had that happen to me before as well. That's where the
Yeah,
no
but
comment. There's where no comment came about for Jerson. But is it a valid question? I mean, I think it's a valid question on a journalistic standpoint. I'm no journalist. You're more of a
me,
journalist than I am, but I feel like it's a valid question that people are going to be asking. Someone had to say it. I mean, they ask it all in the higher leagues. You know, we haven't. There's an issue on the team in this particular lineup. We still have time for in the transfer window. Is there a probability of getting somebody? I mean, I don't think it should be a taboo question.
yeah,
But anyway, moving on with the quote, he said, "We're trying to keep open the possibilities open always. We're trying to make sure that if we make a move, it's a move that is a good possibility for all the parts involved. With Alex, it was a possibility because we liked him. We knew he was doing well. Chicago Fire saw that as an opportunity, and the player was interested in coming over here. Everything had to be accorded to those three facts: the player first, then his club, and then our club. All three were good, and it was a good possibility. We created some other interest. We're waiting. We're pushing to see if it's a possibility. If it's that way, we're going to be happy to receive the help." Quema no quemaca.
okay. There's a two-way fold. You can see this.
Okay.
The first way fold is to announce them right at the deadline, or this is just code language that this is it. You know, this is it for us. This is what we're going with. Good luck, everyone. That's the two-way fold.
Okay.
And
Where do you?
and you know what? And I kind of sort of agree with that. I kind of sort of agree because uh, the possibilities were out there. And let me just flash you back to when the Toros made some academy signings in the middle of the transfer window,
Mm-hmm.
and I had popped that question, and then surprise Jonas Fieldberg arrives.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like if there's going to be one more addition, it's going to be from the defensive end. I mean, that's just me being using my fake crystal ball that I don't have. And if the team is going to make a move, I think it's going to be for a defender.
Now I ask you this question because you mentioned this. This is a twofold. You can interpret this in two ways. You personally,
Okay.
what do you think is the biggest probability? Do you think that there's something more in the works, or do you think it's kind of a code way to say this is it?
This team doesn't have that much history when making transaction moves. And even with its partnership with the Dynamo, they were like very, very low profile moves. And I do think that there is something out there, and I'm gonna say that it's gonna be a defensive move because you're already down with Habakwe. You don't know anything on Puma yet,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I'm willing to take a gamble that the next move that he needs to absolutely make, it's gotta be defensive. But
Mm-hmm.
will it really happen? I'll give a 52% of it happening
Oof.
because no Darce, I mean, credit. I mean, I feel really incomplete about his play.
And it's
Gabriel
like,
and
uh,
Gabriel Benitez, it's like you're seeing a liability in him, but because you have that liability because he's in a position where
he's not 100% comfortable.
you don't see that comfortability, and then when he decides to play on, you kind of see that reckless challenge forthcoming that sometimes he may get away with it, and then there's times where the referee will come up and book you,
Mhm.
which is why my concern with Gabriel Benitez.
Because he's used to the South American style.
Yeah, where in South America they let you play on.
Now,
Here it's very concacafy.
now, Nodarse, the thing with Nodarse is that
You
yes,
gotta
he's up there. He's up there in interceptions within the
yes,
league. The problem is that in the recent couple of games he's been lost. Whether it's because they
exactly.
place him as an outside back, and even now where he's being placed as a center back is like he's looked very lost against San Diego. He's looked lost
And,
in
and, and
this
look
game
at
against Phoenix.
and look at the partnerships that he's had to endure.
Kinsner and Benitez.
And you can also add Jono to that equation as well too.
I feel like we get the best out of Nodarse when Acque is in there.
I'll double you up on that. I say Puma.
So you think in your eyes Puma is the makes it. I mean, I okay. I see it. I see it. Where Puma is the most veteran, he's been the most vocal. He's the one that is positions everybody. Hey, you need to be here. You need to be here. Yada yada yada. We've talked about it. Obviously his mistakes. And some of these fouls and
And,
stuff like that.
and you know what?
But
And to credit to Puma, I mean, I felt like
he's
he's
improved.
somewhat he's somewhat improved. Yeah,
Mhm. So Harry says it's a valid question. The fact it's an issue says a lot about RGV and, to be fair, SAFC, that they don't want to provide answers to questions. Mm, interesting. I mean, that's how it's always been, though, with RGV.
I mean, Harry, you guys are owned by the San Antonio Spurs. It's an NBA franchise, not a G League franchise. NBA. It's a huge difference from G League, brother. Huge.
Abraham Moreno says, God, I'm hoping there's something more in the works. And then continues on saying, and this is regarding Frank Nodarse. He says, yep, one of these past games, Tyler Derrick was visibly coaching him and providing him guidance on the field during a game.
That's been the past 4 or 5 weeks, brother, and I even talked to Tyler Derrick about that. Go to my YouTube page. There's the video where I talked to Tyler Derrick about that, Abraham. Subscribe, like, hit that notification button. Sorry, Edson, for that shameless plug.
I don't mind. I don't mind. Go ahead.
I'm
There's no
sorry for
there's
that.
no problem. I've plugged in your channel multiple times at the end of the show as well. So there's no
Well,
problems with plugging in your stuff.
I'm sorry, but to get on Abraham's point, videos are right there, man. I don't carry them everywhere I go. They're on YouTube.com/@ South Texas Border Sports. They're right there, brother. They're right there.
Now, for me, I really do think there's something in the works. I mean, because I don't know if they're just playing to the audience, but the fact that they said that there is some other interest out there. Now, interest doesn't really mean, keep that clear. Interest doesn't mean that there's negotiations going on. Interest by itself. I can be interested in. I mean, let me put an analogy. I could be very very interested in a freaking Lamborghini. I'm interested in a Lamborghini, but that doesn't mean I have the financial aspects or the credit or whatever you call it to buy a Lamborghini right from the dealership, new or used. Or I could be 100% interested in a girl. But if I don't go out there to talk to her, I'm not going to get the girl. Or at least put myself in a closer situation. It's a similar situation here. There could be some sort of interest for a certain player. Let's say, for example, they want to bring in Forrest Lasso.
God, what a monster signing that would be.
Maybe Wilmer is interested in Forrest Lasso. But maybe they don't. There's no money to bring in and pay his salary or pay a transfer fee for Forrest Lasso. And it's just that. It's interest. Or going back to what Wilmer said, we could be interested in somebody else. And the club thinks that they're interested in coming, in bringing that player over on a loan. But what if that player hates what he sees out of the Rio Grande Valley? What if that player sees a bunch of Snapchats and YouTube Shorts and TikToks of everything that happens on 17th Street, and he's like, "Fuck this, I'm out."
Épale, piensan los niños.
But you get what I'm saying, right? Like interest doesn't equal like there's something that's really going to happen. But the fact that I think that they're mentioning that they're waiting, that they're hoping that it's a possibility, I do think there might be something into it. But that is not an assurance that something is going to be coming. Somebody is going to be coming in the next couple of weeks. But there is something brewing out there in the background. How's it? You see? You know what I mean? How's it going, Josh? Yeah, it's Houston Dynamo 2023 US Open Cup and 2023 MLS Cup champion. Messi who? Book it. LOL. I'm gonna have to hold you down, Josh. I do think that they could be MLS Cup champion, or not MLS Cup champion, Open Cup champions. But I do think they're still a little before. They're still not there to become MLS Cup champions. But I will always be hopeful. Yes, yes, I agree with you, Josh. We can have faith on the Houston Dynamo. But yeah, that was pretty much it. So what can we take away from this quote from Wilmer? There's a possibility that there's other players coming in. How big those signings are going to be, we don't know. They could probably be a big signing, or it could probably be another, small little splashes, small little splash signings where it's like, it's not going to shake the league, but it's going to, be a good fit, like Jonas Fjellberg or Christian Pinzon. They didn't have any pedigree, coming in, and when they came in together last season, I mean, they teared it up and put us back into the playoffs. And I really don't think that the Toros are going to be making those kind of big splash signings. I could be wrong, but I don't see it happening. But I do feel that Wilmer and his coaching staff may have an eye to do more with less. And the possibility to do more with less. We saw it when he was with the Dynamo. We saw it when he was at the Dynamo back in 2017, 2018. I mean, the Dynamo was one of the worst rosters in regards to salaries. And I mean, Josh can back me up on this. We were together on the Peel along with Justin, talking about this kind of situation, and Wilmer found a way to make it happen. Unfortunately, he lost the locker room later on, and he ended up getting sacked. Or at least that's what the media said. We can cling on to hope that there will be some more signings, but I'm not, like I said, I'm not expecting any huge signings that is going to be like, oh, we're bringing back Rodrigo Lopez, or or we're going to be bringing in give me a good like banger name in the USL Championship.
Oh, nah.
The,
I
like
don't
I said,
know.
they're not gonna be bringing in a Salomon Asante kind of thing, and I would be very surprised if they do. Well, Vicente's already Papa Sanchez is already retired, Abraham, and I don't think he's going to be unretiring himself for a second time. Josh says, yeah, we were the lowest in the league, and the only reason we made it to where we were was because of Elise, Kyoto, and Sanchez. Well, that's a very good point, actually, too. It says, now they're losing first round of playoffs and losing like 6-1 in US Open Cup. Keep the faith, Josh. Keep the faith. But yeah, that's, I mean, anything else you want to add before we talk about the upcoming match against Hartford?
Booby trap alert. Booby trap alert. Booby trap alert. All I have to say about Hartford.
Oh, no. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Don't tell me we're going to be a levantamuertos again. Don't tell, please. I've had enough with losing to Vegas, with losing to Loudoun in previous years, losing to Atlanta United 2 in previous years when they were coming in and they were coming in as the victim and somehow they got points at HEB Park. I don't want that to happen again. I'm tired of that. So yeah, so this Saturday, RGV FC will be traveling to Hartford and we'll be facing off Hartford Athletic, one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the USL Championship in general, right? I think the only one worse is Las Vegas, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I mean, let's see what the table reads. Yeah,
Damn it, Josh. Why? He says, so look, here's what I'm thinking. How can we get RGV to sign Gignac? Well, I think we would have to sell the whole Rio Grande Valley and then some.
yeah.
In all honesty, Josh, I appreciate you coming on and talking to us for a little bit, man. I really miss you all, and hopefully I can make a trip over to Houston soon. Because it's been a while since I've seen you, since I've seen Justin and the whole squad over there in Houston. But thanks for hopping on. And guys, don't forget if you guys like gaming, be sure to follow him on Twitch at the Yogi Bear Gaming. So you can take, he plays a variety of games. So if you're interested in gaming and watching people game, be sure to give him a follow and activate those notifications. Yeah, you will not be disappointed. So what did you find, Ray?
If a wooden spoon award was somewhere awarded, it's a dead heat race between Hartford and Vegas. Pick your poison.
Oh, that bad.
Yeah. Although Vegas has that lead by one slender point.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying that Tab Ramos left Hartford in shambles.
Well, Hartford has been in shambles since who knows when. To be honest
So
with you.
So this is the situation with Hartford Athletic, guys. So if I'm not mistaken, last weekend they had the situation with COVID, or was it during the week? No, it was last weekend, right? They
Yeah.
were playing Tampa Bay Rowdies, and they did not have a keeper because all of their registered keepers were out with COVID, and I think they only had enough for two substitutes on the bench, if I'm not mistaken. So they ended up, I think they only lost 2-1. against you see.
Yeah,
I
to
could have
Tampa Bay.
yeah. Yeah, they lost 2-1 to Tampa Bay. They lost 2-0 to El Paso Locomotive. They lost 4-3 to Pittsburgh Riverhounds. That is actually
A
so. This is
surprising
one of the
result.
yeah, but this is and then okay. Then they lost to Charleston 3-2, tied OC 1-1. The last 5 games for them have been all losses for Hartford Athletic. They currently have a negative 27 goal difference. They've only they've won 4, lost 19, and tied 4. But this is a very dangerous opponent in the aspect that these are the kinds of opponents that RGV somehow finds a way to lose. And if they're not careful, I mean, against Charleston, they scored 2. And against Pittsburgh, they scored 3. Let's not forget that they also have former RGV striker Kyle Edwards, right?
Yep, the UTRGV frontman from the Saint Grenadines and
St. Kitts and the Grenadines.
Saint Vincent and the Grenadines.
Thank you. So, I mean, on paper, RGV should win this game. But we've seen it many times. Even with better Toros teams, they somehow find a way to lose against the worst teams in the USL Championship. So I'm not really, forgive me, I'm not feeling very hopeful about getting a positive result in this game. Like I said, on paper, we should. This should be considered, in theory, an easy 3 points in the bag. But in practice, I have a lot of doubts, especially in how well our offense is going to play and how well our defense is going to play. I guess the whole team in general.
Yeah, sadly, it's just one of those booby trap games that when, again, I'm going to make reference to one of the videos that when I talked to Tyler Derrick about that, well, when you're facing a team that's on the lower side of the table, that's where your concentration needs to be fully, because if not, um, you're gonna have another Vegas type game.
Mm-hmm. So this is how important this game is. So in theory, if we win against Hartford and everybody else on top, El Paso, Monterey Bay, and New Mexico lose, you could be looking that RGV makes it to 8th place and into playoff positions. But in that same time, well, in the same week, Monterey Bay is traveling to Memphis to take on Memphis 901. That could be a possibility they could get a loss. Okay, El Paso's going against Orange County, that's firing on all cylinders right now. So that could be another possibility for El Paso to lose. New Mexico is going against Birmingham Legion at Birmingham. I'm not sure if this could be considered a game that they could lose. I think if anything, they could probably be a draw minimum. The point I'm trying to make is it's imperative the Toros get the 3 points, because this is a prime opportunity on paper for the Toros to make it back into playoff positions. And then from then on, it's just a matter of making sure week by week you earn more points than everybody below you. And maybe even, in front of you, to try to get, to climb on the spots, against teams like Oakland and Colorado Springs more than anything. who have 40 points and 36 points respectively.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I mean, that playoff table is just like wow. It's like all over the place. It's like nobody wants that A spot. But I could, but I could really say this. I mean, it's just gonna be for now. We're playing like if you don't want it, I don't want it. It's kind of like that hot potato game. Like nobody wants to end up with that hot potato game at the end of the night.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants it.
Because they don't want to face Sacramento or San Antonio. Hey, and if San Antonio's not careful, Orange County's right behind them. I don't know what to expect, man. I honestly don't know what to expect. If I had an idea what to expect from the Toros, if they were more consistent, then I'd probably be more calm and a little bit more positive that the Toros could get 3 points.
Yeah.
But at this point, like I said, it's been an incognito. Which are we going to get, Jekyll, or are we going to get Mr. Hyde? So having said this, what is your regular prediction?
I kind of feel like Grandpa Simpson on this one, where he walks in, hangs up the hat briefly, and then he collects his hat and walks out of it. That's how I feel right now.
Mm-hmm.
Eh, regular prediction 2-1. We end up stealing it late.
Okay. I'm going to go with 2-0. I do think, no, I haven't heard any updates on their roster because I know
I know they
the
signed any. I know they signed a keeper.
Mhm. I'm going more as far as like the roster size. Although, to be fair, now I think it's only like 5 days where you can be out. I know for me, when I got COVID, the doctor said in 5 days you're considered not contagious. Obviously you're not gonna be feeling 100%. I mean, when I obviously, I'm not a professional sports player, an athlete, that's fully fit, right? But when I but when I got out of COVID, like even though I was considered, non contagious, it still took me a while for me to even like walk around the block because I was feeling like I wasn't getting enough air from into my lungs, right? So the reason I'm saying this is, how is the roster? Have they gotten their players back? Are they going to be at 100%? If they're still going to be, struggling with very little sub choices, or some of their key players are going to be out, you know, we might have a better chance of getting a victory, right?
Well, I know that
But
they signed a goalkeeper by the name of Marvin Allen Dorchin,
okay.
and this is coming from Transfer Market. He's a 25-year-old keeper.
Hmm. Yeah.
So there's that.
So Costless is saying regular prediction 2-0 Hartford win. Oof. And then, so bold prediction.
Uh, bold prediction. Wow. Whew. Uh, hmm.
Costless
Filler
says
match.
1-1 draw. Say again?
Filler match. 0-0.
That is your bold prediction. 0-0 draw.
Duelo de
De
relleno.
relleno. Da-da. Cosla says, if I was a rich man, I wouldn't bet $10 on the Toros to win. Ouch.
And you know, they've got three of our former players: Elvis Ammo, Juan Pablo Torres, and Kyle Edwards.
So, which is why it's so surprising to me how Hartford is struggling this bad. How is it that with Kyle Edwards and Elvis Amo, I mean, Juan Pablo Torres, you could say he really didn't do a lot here with, like, or at least he wasn't showy. Like, he was one of those players that kind of flew under the radar.
Yeah.
But with Kyle Edwards and Elvis Amo, how is it that they're struggling this bad?
Wow. I mean, just remember that Hartford has the manager by the name of Omid Namazi, appointed June 26th of this year. He's had less than 3 months on the job.
Oh God, is it? Yeah, yeah, I remember him. Once they fire, didn't the same thing happen with the Dynamo? They fired Tab and Obenda Matsi became the interim head coach for the Houston Dynamo. Josh, if you're there, back me up. So I'm looking at this the statistics, and look, they've got Antoine Hoppenau. That's another decent player, I think.
Yeah, you're right. I mean,
Let's see who others stick
Prince
out.
Sadie's another player.
Oh, they also have Kembo Kibato. Yeah,
Might as
yeah,
well be the
you're
Toros. Might as well be the Toros pro feeder now.
at this point. So I'm looking at Elvis Amos statistics. He's got 12 shots on target
He's got
and
five
five
goals.
goals. 5 goals.
Kyle Edwards, on the other hand, seven
7
goals,
goals.
3 dimes.
I mean, they've kind of done their job,
Yeah, but
but the
unfortunately,
defense is in shambles.
yeah.
Now, this is where RGV needs to get their act together. I think for me, bold prediction, I'm going to go with a. What am I going to say? 3-0 loss.
Yeah,
The offense doesn't do anything, and then and Elvis Amo scores a hat trick, and I don't know.
will there be any flying knee drops?
I was not good. I didn't want to say it, man. I did not want to say it. Oh my god. Oh man. But yeah, I think my bold prediction 3-0 loss against Hartford. Abraham says, mind you, they played very well together with the help of Christian Sorto when they were with the Toros. And he's talking about Edward Cinema.
And not only that, but this match is playing on that plastic pitch.
Ugh, terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Defense, but yeah, that's pretty much it. There really isn't really a lot to talk about Hartford, but I guess we'll see what happens. This game is going to, and at home they've only have 2 wins, 10 losses, and 2 draws.
Even more dangerous, those 2 wins. Well, I'm just
That's
like,
how Las Vegas was. Remember?
yeah,
Now, if I'm not mistaken, Ray, I don't know if you recall correctly, but I think Las Vegas was actually mentioned today at the presser.
God, yeah. I mean, Look, the good thing about Hartford Athletic is that they're playing on the normal sized plastic pitch,
Hmm.
unlike Vegas where it's clunky and small, and it's like you can
In
barely
terrible
do a thing.
conditions.
Yeah,
Now, this game is going to be on Saturday at 6 p.m. I don't know if there's going to be a watch party on Saturday like they did against Phoenix, but I'm sure they would have mentioned it by now. But but yeah, hopefully the Tourists can get a positive result. I think they need it. Like I said before, this is the prime opportunity to take advantage if the other results go their way to get back into the top eight. And from then on, it's gonna be a case of can you keep that top eight?
here's the funny thing about Hartford. Their two wins at home came against Loudon, and brace yourself for this one, New Mexico United.
Wasn't New Mexico a dumpster fire at the beginning of the season too?
Mind you, the this New Mexico win for Hartford came August 5th.
So just recently.
Yeah. And the two away results that Hartford has, brace yourself again. Away to Oakland Roots
Okay. Wow.
and away to Las Vegas.
I mean, Diosito nos agarre confesados.
Or unlike that Atlas player that took the molestation from who knows where.
Oh no. Anyway, guys, I think this is a sign that we need to that we need to end this episode. Uh yeah, Abraham says Toros haven't announced anything on their social media regarding a watch party, but if it does, we will keep you posted on our socials. Don't forget Twitter, Facebook,
Yeah,
Instagram.
FYI,
Yes.
just my final 2 cents here for tonight, and this is going to be a hot take.
Uh oh.
Walk-ons, absolute worst place to host a watch party.
Ouch. Well, that pretty much confirms that we're never going to have a sponsorship by walk-ons. And
Look, personal story, and this is short. So, at one of my employers, they were playing a conference tournament. I asked the people, "Hey, I know you guys have the resources. Can we, can I watch this certain game here?" And I was like turned away. And then as I'm leaving the establishment, one of my supervisors walks in and they ask me like, "Hey, are they showing the game?" And I go, "No, I just ordered my appetizer, paid for it, and I'm leaving because these people don't know how to treat customers right, and that's just because they sponsor you people. So I'm staying away from this one, and that's my story."
but guys, that's going to be it for tonight. We thank you all for tuning in and watching this podcast. Unfortunately, today it wasn't really 100% like I think it was a bit more spontaneous than normal. So that's why I
I,
felt like I personally felt like I was all over the place. But hopefully you guys kind of still got a little bit of discussion from what's been happening with the Toros. Like we mentioned last week, man, we got to keep with the faith, but we also have to, kind of see, the things the way that they are, and the fans also have expectations too, so um we're open for y'all to discuss, to talk if you disagree with us as well. I know there was a lot of disagreement with Copa Tejas that continue to be a very controversial topic even last week, but yeah, that's what we're here for. And of course, be sure to support Ray Silva and South Texas Border Sports. His videos from today's presser should be up soon. If not, they're up already. So be sure to subscribe to his channel, watch those videos, give them a like, share them as well. Any little bit of interaction with these with Toro's content, whether it's mine, whether it's Ray's, every little bit helps and helps grow the word of Mr. Toro out there to people from the Rio Grande Valley that may not necessarily or be fans of the Toros because they don't know about it yet, or they're fans of the Tours, but maybe they don't know of this community that we've started to build of Taurus fans, where we can come in, discuss, maybe even learn, together about what's going on with the Toros, which is what we're here for. Ray, anything else you want to add?
No, thanks a lot, Edson, for having me on. I know Jacob's getting ready to uh, take his seat back the way he normally should. I hope he's feeling better, even though I throw jibes at him at Twitter and he doesn't take the bait. So smart on him. I'm just trying to like get him acclimated
I know,
once again
I
with
know,
the.
I know how you can make them take the bait.
Oh no, how?
Talk crap about Lewis Hamilton. That'll get him flared up real quick.
I just have to tell him that Haley Deegan sucks.
Oh,
You know,
come on! Don't mess with Haley Deegan.
yeah, I'm just you see, there's proper ways and channels to get him to take baits, and I think that might be one of them.
But I think, like I said, I think the biggest I think the way that you'll have like more success is by dissing Lewis Hamilton. He gets so defensive of Lewis Hamilton. I remember when I first started, going back with watching Formula One, and obviously I was a lot more about like, oh, Verstappen and Checo and Red Bull because of Checo Perez. And so obviously the rivalry was Verstappen versus Lewis Hamilton, especially after Abu Dhabi. Every time I talked smack about Lewis Hamilton, he got flared up like hardcore. I remember one time I was like, because it was after Abu Dhabi, he loses the championship based on that decision. And then Lewis Hamilton's like, I think I'm just gonna retire because the FIA is so unjust with me. So, I don't want to go back, yada yada yada. And I posted publicly on Twitter. It's like, well, that looks like somebody that's throwing a tantrum because he can't get what he wants, or he thinks like he's entitled to winning a championship. Dude, you should have seen how Jacob reacted, dude. Like, I don't think I've ever seen Jacob that mad. But that's another topic for another day. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see each other next Wednesday. Ahora sí, I will make 100% sure that I will be going live next Wednesday. That way, Jacob will be available to come back and take a seat. Ray, thank you so much for coming on and subbing for Jacob these last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
And I hope,
again, you have my digits. You know where to find me. Not that difficult to find. I
yes,
mean,
sir.
being part of the establishment is always fun. Even though the rebellious rivers of the Rio Grande did bring us something in the last post game presser. Wink, wink.
Oh yeah. Let's not talk about that. I've already gotten on that person's bad side.
We're not all golden coins, Edson. Just remember that.
So I real quick, is it wait, where's that? Oh, okay. So I just got a tweet from our friend Annie Kaufman, who is a supporter for Colorado Springs, but she is kind of like Harry, where they're very active and very knowledgeable on the USL as a whole. And she says, keep in mind, Hartford had players out on injury for a large part of the season. They will probably all be available for the RGV match. We go back for this being a booby trap game. But
Yep.
guys, thank you so much. We'll see each other next week on another episode of the Down in the Valley podcast. Have a good night.